Today in the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by laughingplace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on August 9th, 2023, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. The passing of a comic legend, more alcohol coming to the formerly dry Disneyland, Smellephants coming to Walt Disney World, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
This fall, Tree of Life Awakenings will be returning to Disney's Animal Kingdom. These popular projection shows will resume in early November once daylight savings time ends. Once the sun sets, the park's icon will once again come to life with stunning visuals, vivid colors, and animated imagery. So keep an eye out for Tree of Life Awakenings later this year. With Halloween decorations already starting to arrive at Magic Kingdom, Disney has revealed some new entertainment offerings coming to Mickey's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party this year. First, Adventureland will be taken over by a spirited pirate band and their crew. Be sure to listen for their sea shanties while their shipmates roam the land sharing tales of their explorations at sea. Elsewhere, Max, Goof, and his Powerline Party Pack will host pop-up parties throughout the park before dancing their way onto Main Street ahead of the Boo to You parade. Speaking of the parade, it will be more villainous than ever as Ursula, Cruella, and the Queen of Hearts join the previously announced Sanderson sister versions of Minnie, Daisy, and Clarabelle in the finale. Mickey's Not-So-Scary Halloween Party kicks off its seasonal run on August 11th. In news that seems completely out of left field, Disney has announced a new experience coming to Magic Kingdom called Smellephants on Parade. Sponsored by multi-level marketing brand Scentsy, this interactive experience will be a family-friendly search and sniff adventure in Storybook Circus. It also looks as though Scentsy will soon be sponsoring the Dumbo the Flying Elephant attraction at the park. At this time, details on Smellephants on Parade are scant, but surely we'll be hearing and smelling more from this attraction very soon. It may be hard to believe, but we are not all that far from the holiday season. As the Disney Parks blog has announced, the festivities will return to the Disneyland Resort from November 10th through January 7th. This will include Disney Festival of the Holidays at Disney California Adventure, featuring diverse food, live entertainment, and more. Plus, Disney Viva Navidad will return to Paradise Gardens Park for its 10th season this year. Can't believe it's been that long. Disney and Pixar characters will also march to the beat of the holiday toy drummers in Mickey's Happy Holidays. Of course, the whole of the Disneyland Resort will once again be decked out with spectacular holiday decor, including Sleeping Beauty's Winter Castle, a gingerbread house inspired by sweet treats and pastries at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa, of course, Christmas trees with uniquely themed ornaments in both theme parks, the Downtown Disney District, Disney's Grand Californian Hotel, and Disneyland Hotel. As for attractions, it's a Small World Holiday and Haunted Mansion Holiday, along with Luigi's Joy to the Whirl and Mater's Jingle Jamboree will also be offered. Finally, plenty of returning entertainment will come to both parks, including a Christmas Fantasy Parade and Believe in Holiday Magic Fireworks at Disneyland, as well as World of Color Season of Light at DCA. So be sure to catch all of the holiday fun at the Disneyland Resort starting on November 10th. Guests exploring the Disneyland Hotel may notice work being done in the former home of Steakhouse 55. Unfortunately, however, fans of the restaurant shouldn't get too excited as there are still no plans for it to return. Instead, the current construction will apparently refresh the space and be more cohesive with the rest of the hotel and the entry lobby area, making the location feel lighter and brighter. Additionally, Disney says the current plan is to convert this area into a flexible lounge space, which will sometimes operate as an extension of a seasonal bar. These updates are now underway, so stay tuned for what's next. It looks like Disneyland will soon be getting a little more soulful. The resort has posted a casting call for the role of Joe Gardner, with the listing stating that performers must be able to play proficiently in the solo piano jazz style and will be required to learn specific music. The performer must also be able to engage with guests in character. While it's unclear what this role would be part of, it seems likely that this could be a new entertainment offering, especially in light of one major update Kyle and I will be discussing in a moment. Hopefully we'll hear more about such a show soon, but in the meantime, those interested in the role can submit for a virtual audition later this month. Two former executives that were once viewed as heirs apparent to Bob Iger have reportedly rejoined the Walt Disney Company. Well, sort of. According to Variety, Tom Staggs and Kevin Mayer have been tapped to consult with the company. Specifically, it's been said that they've been sought to help analyze and develop strategic options for ESPN. Of note, the duo are currently co-CEOs of Candle Media and will retain those roles despite their advisory position. While this news is sure to fuel rumors of a possible permanent position for the duo back at Disney, such a development remains to be seen. Still, as Iger recently extended his contract once again and looks to stick the landing on Succession this time around, perhaps this pair will also get a second chance at the top job. In fact, I think a pair would be a nice option in the Walt Roy and Eisner Wells tradition. The iconic Star Wars star Billy D. Williams has announced the upcoming release of his autobiography. Best known for his role as Lando Calrissian, Williams's book will be titled What Have We Here?, inspired by a line from the character. According to the synopsis, it will tell his life story from Harlem to Star Wars and beyond. What Have We Here? Will be released to bookstores everywhere in 2024. And now it's time to bring in Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Just got back I went to Indianapolis for over the weekend for the 2 days before that.
What was going on in there?
So it was something called Gen Con, which is apparently like the San Diego Comic-Con version. Like that's how big it is, but for gaming, like tabletop gaming. So that was where they debuted Disney Lorcana officially, which is that trading card game. It's like Disney's answer to Magic the Gathering. So that was a big hit there. I got to watch a little bit of a tournament, and then they had some other stuff. And yeah, it was very interesting. Definitely different from the conventions I'm used to going to. I was a little thrown off, but very excited. It was really cool to see how into a game that had just been released, there are people like, oh yeah, I have a podcast about Lorcana. We do, these streams about it. We got all the details about the cards, and we've been playing like test rounds on the computer. It's crazy.
I have a friend who's very into it. In fact, he's going to Disneyland on, I think, the 18th is what he said, because there's some cards that'll be released there. So he's going to go get those. He asked me to try and grab them at D23 Expo, and me being super naive, like went up to the booth and was like, hey, I'm looking for these cards for my friend. And like the woman pretty much laughed at me and was like, yeah, those were gone in like the first 15 minutes of the day. And I was like showing up at 4 p.m. or something. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's a big thing. I'm not like I'm not a card game guy, so
yeah. I mean, I've played the game a little bit. It was fun, but the card art I really like. So I did buy some extra boosters. But yeah, as you mentioned, they're going to be at local gaming shops and at Disney parks on the 18th, and then they'll be at wider retailers on September 1st.
And then you can, pay quadruple the price when they're all resold, I think is basically how it goes, right?
I think probably, yeah.
Yeah, no, my buddy's like investing in them. I was like, all right, I get it's so weird.
Watch the Beanie Baby movie documentary.
I saw the Beanie Baby documentary. Yeah. Oh, can we talk about that? I don't know. I'm sure it's an independent.
Well, I said there's like 10 of them, so you don't know which one we're talking about.
Yeah, you don't know what we're talking about. Anyway, let's start with a story I don't want to talk about, Kyle, which is a weird thing to say because I decided we needed to talk about it. But my goodness, actor and artist extraordinaire Paul Reubens passes away at age 70. Most people know him by the name Pee Wee Herman. This was very upsetting news, kind of shocking. As I said, only 70 years old, was living with cancer for the past 6 years secretly. Very, very few people knew this. He passed away on July 30th, 2023. As I said, most people know him as Pee Wee Herman, but Disney fans especially know him as Captain Rex, the voice of Captain Rex in the original Star Tours, which is a super iconic character, not only from that original attraction, but like he's lived on. We still have him in the queue of Star Tours The Adventures Continue. We have DJ Rex, which he voiced as well in Oga's Cantina in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. He did, voiceover work for numerous Disney movies, of which I will not speak about, and due to the strike, for anybody confused about why we're avoiding certain titles. But yeah, Really, really sad to hear this. I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Did you grow up with him? He was an icon for me.
No, I didn't. I was a big Pee Wee fan. I remember watching him Saturday mornings, and Tim Burton's directorial debut remains one of my top 5 favorite movies. So
yeah,
I've still never got. Did you see the Cabazon thing?
The dinosaurs?
How they painted
Pee Wee's suit.
Yeah,
no, I'm pretty sure they've done that in the past because they do that a lot. The Cabazon dinosaurs are famous from a certain Pee Wee Herman project, and they painted Pee Wee's iconic gray suit with the red bow tie on the T-Rex. And they've done stuff like this in the past. I think they might have even done this particular look in the past, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they did it again as a tribute to him. And he wrote a statement. He knew that he was sick, and he wrote this statement that I'll read right now. Please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing the last 6 years. I have always felt a huge amount of love and respect from my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you. End quote. And, this was, this is the way to handle, listen, there's no way to handle knowing you're sick and dying, but no right way, I should say, to handle it.
We've had a few of these recently. I mean, him, Norm Macdonald, Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, honestly, I would like to think it's kind of the way I would handle it, but who knows? I hope I never find out. But I just have a lot of respect for doing it privately. And I had the great honor and joy of seeing him live as Pee Wee Herman.
I was going to say, I was Pee Wee Herman too, but I know you saw him at the Hollywood Bowl not too long ago as well.
Oh, yeah. I think that was actually before. I can't remember now. The years were mixing up. But yeah, I've seen him at the Hollywood Bowl performing. And I saw him do the Pee Wee Herman show that he brought to Broadway. He did it in Los Angeles a couple of years, I feel like, maybe just a year before he went to Broadway with it. And it was this huge resurgence for the character. It was the return of the character. It was before any other new stuff he did with the character. And I was just so happy to see him bring the character back in the way he wanted to and kind of say goodbye to the character in the way he wanted to, because the first time around it was, I'm not going to get into those details, but it was the most absurd scandal in the world that
people still bring up. And I'm like, yeah, did you read what you just said?
So yeah, I was just so happy that he got to do it his way. And the live show was incredible. It was like so much fun. And yeah, it's very, very sad. I always wished that Pee Wee did a Halloween project. I feel like that would have been a lot of fun. And it also has me questioning, earlier this year, we lost Barry Humphries, who it was known as Dame Edna. You're familiar, yes?
Kind of.
Okay, so Dame Edna was another one of these characters that was like, the character that they create is more famous than the actual person themselves.
Okay, I remember what you're talking about now.
Yeah, and with Barry, Disney fans actually know him as from some voiceover work as well. But it's interesting when these characters become so much more famous, and it's like, well, will they live on? And it was funny because in the case of Barry Humphries, the character that he did in drag as Dame Edna, like, Dame Edna recognized that Barry Humphries was a person. In fact, Barry was Dame Edna's manager. Keep in mind, this is all the same person. And after Barry Humphries passed away, Dame Edna had written an obituary for Barry. And in that obituary, she announced her retirement and that, she'll never be seen by the public again, which I thought was just like a stroke of comedic genius. I'm curious. I think Pee Wee's done, right? I think, Pee Wee will live on forever, but I think any new Pee Wee is done. But I will tell you, if Pee Wee was ever brought back, I want Jim Parsons to play Pee Wee Herman.
That'd be good.
I think he'd be spectacular as Pee Wee. But I don't know, just super, super sad news. And I don't know about you, but my social media feed, this is now a week later after the news, is still constant Pee Wee tributes. And here's what's really interesting. I'm not surprised to hear he was a super sweet guy and apparently a great lover of celebrating people's birthdays and sending Christmas cards and such. But I've also read a lot about Pee Wee Herman, and he could be difficult to work for. Was not the easiest person to get along with a lot of the times, it sounded like. So it's really interesting just to see this complete opposite side of him, where he just seemed like one of the sweetest, gentlest men in the world as well. And it seems to be that's what he's being remembered for. And I love Pee Wee, and it was very sad news. And I just want to tell everybody, the way you spell Pee Wee Herman is P, capital P, E, dash, lowercase w, wee, W-E-E, Herman, capital H-E-R-M-A-N. Nobody seems to be able to spell Pee Wee Herman correctly. Capital P.
I know you are, but what am I?
Oh, man, Pee Wee. Anywho, shall we move on? Or do you have anything else to say about the late, great Paul Reubens?
Good for you and your father. I could quote that movie all day.
Oh, boy.
Is there something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
And that will be the rest of the podcast. Go ahead, Kyle. Just keep quoting things.
Knitting.
All right, moving on. Disney will be updating how guests book dining reservations on the Disneyland and Walt Disney World websites, as well as the Disneyland and My Disney Experience apps. These updates include visibility of all available reservation slots. Guests will see all reservation slots available to them for their selected dining location and time frame. Currently, only a few available reservation slots that fit the guest's selected time frame are shown. Reservation slots will be sorted by meal period. That means that guests can view which menu is being served during the time of their reservation. For example, it'll be clear to guests whether the lunch or dinner menu is being served at 4 p.m. And these updates will roll out in phases across the websites and iOS and Android platforms. In addition to these enhancements to making dining at Disney more seamless, Disney also recently expanded the window to modify or cancel dining reservations from 24 hours before to just 2 hours before a scheduled reservation at most locations. And the mobile ordering system was also recently improved to make it easier for guests to find available and nearby dining options. I mean, this all sounds great to me. I gotta be honest, I don't make dining reservations super often.
I was thinking the same thing.
But I have, and it can be annoying. And I mean, anything to make a Disney vacation process easier is a good thing.
Yes, any improvement to Disney tech, which just is the worst. I'm glad that they could realize these pain points and try to slowly but surely fix them.
It's funny. I feel like I have several phrases that I say over and over, like, nostalgia is king, or, there's many
By
of
physical
them.
Media.
By physical, well, I don't say that these days, but in any case.
You can buy CDs.
It's true, you can buy CDs. That's unstruck content right there, sure. By physical media and music format. No, but I think for you, it's just Disney tech sucks is your catchphrase.
It does.
I don't disagree with you. It does. But yeah, I'm just happy to see, because as we've seen recently, there have been some changes with Genie Plus and all that has just made things even more difficult at a time where it felt like, oh, they got the message, things need to be easier. Well, at least this, I wanted to talk about it and give them the proper props for, hey, it sounds like you're making it easier. Much appreciated. And I'm sure it'll honestly help them monetarily as well. Like, if it's easier for people, more people will probably make dining reservations, I would assume and hope.
It's one of those keys, efficiency.
There we go. So there's that. As promised, the Hatbox Ghost is making his way to Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion. Because of this, Disney has noted that guests may notice temporary barriers in the attraction leading up to his installation. But more controversial than that is where the figure will apparently be placed. According to what Disney has said, the character will appear to guests as they pass the endless hallway. Not only is this different from his location in the Disneyland version of the ride, but this placement would also seemingly defy the story element that suggests the spirits only appear after Madame Leota summons them. So yeah, this is interesting. It's something I hadn't really thought about initially, but it's true. Like, Haunted Mansion's so interesting because there's so much story to it, but at the same time, there's a lot of like all over the place story to it. And there's coming from all different sorts of Imagineers. Some of it's scary, some of it's comedic. But one of the things that really does make sense, no matter how you looked at it, was everything, all of these spirits, you could see, things moving on their own, the candelabra floating, door knockers knocking, all this stuff, but you wouldn't see the spirit until after Madame Leota. So if they do bring the Hatbox Ghost earlier in the attraction, where did you first hear about this complaint?
So let me read exactly what Disney said, because it's very confusing, but it says, the Hatbox Ghost will appear to guests as they pass the endless hallway, welcoming himself inside from a swinging wake in the cemetery and grinning at doom buggies as they set off deeper into the mansion. So it definitely sounds like it'll be at the endless hallway, but then they throw in so many other, I'm like, those are different scenes. Are you like, I can't tell if these are just story elements that are trying to like pack in a bunch of different phrases that you associate with Haunted Mansion, or whether there's going to be like, maybe there's a voice in the endless hallway, but it says scene. It's very confusing.
Okay, so it's not definitely being placed there. It's what we're gathering.
It sounds like it, but Disney is doing their that fun bit that they do where they use kayfabe and try to use this vague language that is supposed to be like in story or something, or like, how you have to say materialize anytime you say something about Haunted Mansion. It's like they're doing that. So like, oh, swinging wake, throw that in there. I'm like, but you mentioned the graveyard. It's coming in from the graveyard. So is he in the graveyard? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see with it. But now that I think of it, the endless hallway during Haunted Mansion Holiday, which I guess is an entirely new story, but it still has the Madame Leota seance as part of it. We see Zero there, and Zero is a ghost dog.
A ghost dog reindeer.
A ghost dog reindeer, that's right. So, does that break the storyline? I don't know. Maybe Haunted Mansion Holiday is just its own separate thing, so it doesn't matter. But it's not unprecedented, I will say, to have a ghostly figure in the endless hallway.
That's true. But yeah, I don't know why they can't just put it where it is at Disneyland. It's kind of, I guess I don't know the Magic Kingdoms as well. But yeah, I guess we'll see. And we still don't know exactly when. The party's starting in like a couple of days. It's kind of crazy to have Halloween starting in August. I know you love it, but
no, I don't love it. I've said this many times. I am all for Halloween year round, but when it comes to actual Halloween events, my sweet spot is September 15th. I'll accept September 1st. I think August is absurd. If you're doing quote unquote off-season Halloween events, you can do whenever you want. But when it comes to official Halloween events, no. August is way too early, especially in Florida where it's, the extreme heat of summer at the moment.
It's going to be triple digits for this Halloween event.
Yeah, so I am not a fan of official Halloween events, seasonal Halloween events happening in August. I think it's absurd. But it makes them a ton of money, and I'm going to assume it'll happen here next year with Oogie Boogie Bash, considering what we've seen with those crazy ticket sales. So,
but how funny that they do this bit of fan service several years after it came to Disneyland. Like, I forget how long it's been in Disneyland's now. So they try to do this bit of fan
Hatbox
service,
Ghost?
and it
was for the 60th.
Screw it up. So yeah, 6 years already. 7.
Yeah, 8.
Jeez.
Yeah, time flies. 8 years ago, so it would have been 2015 was the 60th anniversary.
Okay.
So it's been 8 years since we got the Hatbox Ghost, and yeah, I know people are excited to get them at Magic Kingdom, but yeah, if this is a story continuity issue, you know how I feel about that. I'm not a huge fan. So I feel like they must know it and hopefully have a solution, but at the same time,
maybe. I could see he's kind of like the way he grins and stuff, like he can be a rule breaker, a little bit of a scamp. So kind of breaking the rules, like he's not afraid of you. He's going to show up and tease you while the other ghosts are a little bit scared. He doesn't need your sympathetic vibrations.
Yeah, that'll be the interesting thing. Like if this was just genuinely like a mistake and they're like, oh crap, we didn't think of that. The backstory to justify it will be something to look forward to, I'll say.
Yeah.
So very cool. Now, Walt Disney World has, as you said, not revealed a specific date for the Hatbox Ghost's arrival, so we'll need to wait patiently to see what changes may be made upon his installment. Moving on from there, beginning September 12th, Carnation Cafe, Riverbell Terrace, and Cafe Orleans will introduce delicious new offerings along with wine, beer, specialty cocktails, and non-alcoholic beverages. Those three restaurants join the Blue Bayou, Club 33, and Oga's Cantina as the only locations in Disneyland Park that serve alcoholic beverages. Prior to the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in 2019, Club 33 was the only location in Disneyland to serve alcohol for decades. I mean, do you have an opinion about this? I know people have super strong opinions about alcohol being served in more locations at Disneyland. It seems like people are like, yes, for it, or adamantly against it. Kind of curious where you lay.
I guess it is like, it's always a story because of how, people still probably mistakenly believe that Disneyland Park is dry just because that's like been the lore for so long. Mm-hmm. Or if anything, maybe they take it up a notch and they're like, oh, and the private Club 33 is the only place you can get it. And that's no longer true, and it hasn't been for a while. But I mean, it's still limited to the restaurants. I think it's interesting because I feel like they slow played it more in Magic Kingdom because I think it was just beer and wine. Like I think it even took them a while to get to cocktails. So I think that part is actually kind of interesting that they're there. But I'm sure eventually they'll have a, a beer garden or something. I think the thing I've heard is that Carnation Cafe seems like a weird choice in particular.
I'm okay with any place that's a sit-down restaurant. The thing I don't want is the beer carts and the like outdoor bars, kind of like we have at Disney California Adventure. To me, that just it creates party atmosphere, and it's a very different vibe and feeling, and something that I prefer not in a Disney park personally. I think I think it's for a different clientele than typically Disney advocates. And if you're sitting down and having a meal, want some alcohol, go for it.
And it's way easier for them to monitor then. Like they can cut you off. They can have a 2-drink limit. I don't know if they do. I'm just saying they could.
Yeah.
Way easier at a table service than
absolutely. And frankly, I'm surprised it's taken this long because we all know that alcohol is a super, super profit maker. Like they make a ton of money off of alcohol. I'll never forget with Halloween Horror Nights here in Hollywood, we didn't have alcohol for the longest time because of incidents in the long, long past here. But Orlando did. And Orlando just made a crap ton of money off of alcohol. And I want to say a few years ago, but it's probably been longer than that considering how
around
fast
the time they
flies.
installed the Hatbox Ghost.
Right. Yeah, they started selling it here, and I'm sure it just makes a crap ton of money. So, this is a money thing, and that's to be expected. And yeah, keep it in the restaurants. And I feel that way for all the Disney parks. I personally wish DCA was the same and all the Disney parks. I just don't like the beer carts. I just think it cheapens the park in a sense, in my opinion, when you just have people walking around with like neon Solo cups. Just wait
till it's like SeaWorld where you get free beer with your entry.
Yeah, because they're owned by Busch.
I don't even know if they still are, but they were.
Budweiser. Yeah. Anywho, cool. Well, guys, we got an update in regard to Fantasmic, which at Disneyland, which I know we've been wanting an update on, but I don't know if we wanted this update because according to the resort, they are now working toward a spring 2024 return, which is a long time, but that's not the bad news. Furthermore, when it does make a comeback, the famed dragon will not be included.
Specifically, dragon figure.
Yes, the dragon figure, the animatronic that caught itself on fire and went up in flames, not returning, which begs the question, why is it offline for so long?
It's a great question, and one that I wish I could answer. Like, it feels like if you're gonna, we kind of assume, like, if they're gonna extend it, they're gonna, like, overhaul it. But it's weird to just call out that there's just not gonna be a dragon figure for that. There's going to be a different battle element or whatever. I think they even said between Maleficent.
Yeah,
and
they
Mickey.
said instead a new battle scene between Mickey and Maleficent will be crafted and will feature new special effects. If the new special effects are projection mapping, I'm going to kill someone.
Oh, I said if they're not drones, we burn it down.
Drones over the rivers of America. Now that could be safe.
Like,
there is.
they could form a dragon.
I mean, I still think that would be weak in comparison, but that could be interesting. And frankly, I'm dying for the drones to come to the Disney domestic parks. I will say, and as we just read, it is going to be Maleficent. But the one thing that could make up for losing that dragon is if a giant Ursula came up out of the rivers of America, like the end of Little Mermaid, and that was like the new finale. I'd be all for that, but that ain't happening. But I've dreamed of that for many, many, many years, I'll just say.
And it's funny, when this news came through, my wife and I were driving to Ohio, and so she pulls up she's like, oh, he put this thing in about Fantasmic, and she starts reading it. I'm like, in order to whatever. I'm like, 2024? She's like, how did you know? I'm like, just did the math. That's just how it's got to be at this point.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see what the updates are. I mean, maybe they'll go back to the Fantasmic 1.0 score. That would be fabulous. That ain't gonna happen. But yeah, I don't know. It's a long wait without the dragon. I don't want to make any judgment before it premieres, but it does feel like the show is becoming less and less interesting to me. But having said that, it's one of those things that if you're a guest who's never seen it before, I still think it's an incredible nighttime spectacular. For me, ever since the 2.0 change, I mean, it used to be an every time thing for me when I went to Disneyland, and I saw 2.0 maybe 4 or 5 times, and it was always because I was with somebody who never seen it. I'm like, oh, well, you got to see it. It's Fantasmic. But I don't know. It lost its spark for me, and this further. It's amazing how long we had that dragon, though. What was it, 2009, I think she debuted?
Eventually, yes. At the end of Summer Nightastic, it finally debuted.
September 2009. So, I mean, she had a good long run, but God, what an unfortunate circumstance. And I think that probably means she's never going to Florida.
Yeah, probably not. But the other part of this that's kind of interesting is when they announced the delay until at least Labor Day, they said they're going to be introducing some new entertainment to make up for it, and they did technically do that recently. They took the Jambalaya Jazz Band and Queenie and put them on a float, going around the rivers of America. So that's currently happening. That's not. It's funny because they both want to describe it as like a new entertainment offering to make up for Fantasmic, but it's like, but then you're drawing comparisons and there's no comparison, so that seems silly to do that. But that's why I do wonder if the thing about Joe Gardner might be something for that area to kind of be another offering, but I have no idea for sure. That's just the first thing that comes to mind. If they're trying to get some new entertainment in that in the park, if not that area.
I'm a little surprised we didn't get the return of the Main Street Electrical Parade, to be honest. And I honestly think we would have if park attendance had been higher. I think it's probably a budget thing at this point where they're just looking at the numbers and saying, you know what, attendance is down. We're not going to invest in more. We've still got fireworks, but yeah, I would have thought, hey, it's the summer. We lost a major nighttime spectacular. Roll out the Main Street Electrical Parade, folks. But that didn't happen. And yes, this supplemental stuff has been lackluster. I mean, it's nice. I'm glad that there's something, but it's no comparison, obviously, to Fantasmic.
Yeah. And it feels like so different. Like, remember when It's a Small World Holiday had that flood, how hard and quickly they worked to make sure that was up for at least part of the season. And then you have this for like, we'll just kick it till next spring, which probably means May.
Yeah. And honestly, it probably has something to do with attendance. I mean, I don't know how extreme the damage is to the stage and stuff, but my guess is if they were talking Labor Day, they probably could have had that stuff fixed by then. And then a decision was made, you know what, attendance is low. Let's rework the show. I wouldn't be surprised if reworking Fantasmic means maybe even a few less performers, figuring out how to do that, or whatever, a few less crew members, like just ways to save money. I don't know how many puppeteers it took to control that dragon and or what their other responsibilities are. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's disappointing, but I guess I'll totally reserve judgment until we see what they do. This whole new special effect that they talk about, I'm curious to see what it is, and I hope that that's just not like an empty promise.
Fair enough.
Alrighty. Now, Kyle, before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank the patrons of Disney Coast to Coast who make this show possible. Thank you to Teresa Aguilar, Crystal Dudgeon, Erica Pearson, Jeremy Bennington, Robert Scontrino, Sarah Hops, Jeanette Mancini, Leah Cloney Mathis, Faith Casanova, Bonnie Bagley, Jeffrey Riccio, Gerardo Flores Tinella, Jared Benefield, Philip Elke, Diego Parada Herrera, and Monet Pink. These folks signed up for the DCTC Patreon by clicking the link in this episode's description and checking out the bonuses available there. One of my personal favorite bonuses is the live stream Ask Me Anything on Zoom, where I get to chat with you to talk about all things Disney and beyond. So if you enjoy this podcast, if you've been listening for years, and if you have the means to support the show, I'd be most grateful if you'd check out the DCTC Patreon link in this episode's description. Thank you very much. Moving on, the Hilton New York Times Square has unveiled an Aladdin's Times Square Palace Suite. Complementing the hotel's close proximity to Disney's Aladdin the Musical on Broadway, it's perfect for families enjoying a staycation or traveling in for their first Broadway adventure. The immersive suite draws inspiration from the timeless musical ballads and venturous storylines from the hit Broadway musical and has been masterfully transformed to welcome guests into a whole new world within the tale's Arabian desert kingdom known as Agrabah. Located just feet away from the New Amsterdam Theater, Hilton New York Times Square guests will feel seamlessly transported to Aladdin's city of mystery with only a 1-minute walk between the production's intricate Cave of Wonder set and the elaborately designed Aladdin's Times Square Palace Suite. Designed by Broadway's top dressing room designer for its most legendary stars, Devin Sparkle's Design, the spacious one-king bedroom studio corner suite, complete with a pull-out couch, allows for high adventure in the magical world of Agrabah while taking in wall-to-wall views overlooking Manhattan. As guests step into their desert oasis, they'll encounter a selection of show prints adorning the wall, along with costume and scenic design sketches. Agrabah-inspired furnishings, including bedding, Moroccan wall sconces, a selection of magic carpet Moroccan rugs, jasmine-inspired silks throughout, a magic genie lamp light, Iago-inspired bird light, and bright curtains that truly transform the suite into Agrabah. The Cave of Wonders style washroom features gold mirror and bath accents, including vases and gems. The Aladdin's Times Square Palace Suite experience includes 2 Genie Teeny cocktails and 2 magic mocktails, a lively wake-up call from the Broadway musical's genie himself, Michael James Scott, Aladdin coloring materials for kids, complimentary breakfast for up to 4 guests, and complimentary parking. Guests that book the Enchanted Suite will also receive up to 4 complimentary premium orchestra tickets to see Broadway's Aladdin the Musical and show merchandise upon arrival at the theater. Rates for the Aladdin's Times Square Palace Suite and tickets start from $599 per night and must be booked 72 hours in advance. This is available through October 31st, 2023. Kyle.
Yes.
$599 per night. Is that for the room or per person? Because if that's for, and I get it, that's the lowest end. I actually went on the website and picked like a random weeknight in September, and it was like $900 for the night. But even still, if it's $900 for the night and you get a hotel room in Times Square plus 4 tickets to the show, this is a steal. Seriously, those premium seats on Broadway can be like $250 each.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at this point, I guess they're still premium tickets, but you'd imagine that Aladdin's probably at TKTS. But still,
sure.
yeah, like
but
this,
still, this is it's one
it
night.
It looks great too.
I actually don't think it looks great. I watched the video and it looked like a standard hotel room with some dressing, but
Which
this
is fun. Like it's fun. It's like they put a lot of fun. They didn't just put up a couple of things, but like having like a wake up call and there's some fun elements to it.
Oh, I think this is genius. And for many, many, many years, and I know land in Manhattan is scarce, especially in Times Square, and very expensive, but I have wanted a DVC resort in Times Square so badly for a lot of years with a theater in that hotel. And I mean, I've really, truly wanted that for a long, long time. So I think this is very smart on the part of Hilton, for sure. And I think that it has a lot of potential. I'll be curious to see if it goes beyond the October 31st date. And I'll be curious to see if we see more things like this pop up, because I think it's really smart. And I think if it were more extended, I think there'd be more into the room. I'm not going to say the room looked bad or anything. It just felt like an overlay. It didn't feel like a suite that was made for this purpose. That's all.
No, that's totally fair.
So, I don't know. I was just kind of surprised by the price. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's just with Broadway tickets included. I think that this is kind of wild. And I don't know exactly what the price fluctuation is, but starting at $5.99, even if that's, say, only for 2 people, that's a very good deal from what I can tell. So,
what you're saying is you want to go to New York.
I mean, I kind of always want to go to New York, but I have such a love-hate relationship with New York. There's things about it I love, and then other things that are just like, not for me. But
pizza.
I've never found a favorite pizza joint in New York, to be honest. I
don't have a favorite. I just mean New York pizza in general. That's the first thing I did last time I got to New York. I'm like, I don't care. Anywhere we go is going to be perfectly fine. And so, yeah, it's like, $1 a slice, and it's just the best pizza ever.
And by the way, if you want to hear my review of Aladdin, the Broadway musical, you can check out episode 509 of Disney Coast to Coast. But yeah, that's all I got for this week. Anything you want to add, Kyle?
R.I.P. Paul Reubens. I hope I got through how much. I think it's probably just our age. We're close in age. We grew up with him on TV, and that's probably has a big reason why. I think it's also people of a certain sensibility. Like I know our friend Mike Celestino was a big fan of him too, and there's just so many overlapping things that we have fandom for. Mm-hmm. And so I think, there's just people of a certain sensibility who were really into Pee-wee in all iterations.
Yeah, I always wanted, this is a little bit inside baseball, but his manager, for a while at least, was the same manager as Cassandra Peterson, who similarly is more famous for her character of Elvira. And Cassandra and Paul have known each other for decades because they were both in Groundlings together, the famous improv troupe here in Los Angeles that a lot of Saturday Night Live alumni come from. And so they've been friends for years, decades, and had the same manager. And Elvira was a big part of Knott's Scary Farm for many years, the big Halloween event that takes over Knott's Berry Farm. And Elvira did a big stage musical production show that was really spectacular. Like, even if you weren't an Elvira fan, it just felt like Halloween. And when she retired from that, I want to say 5 years ago at this point, something like that, but time is weird, so who knows when it really was. I always wanted Pee-wee's like Halloween Adventure live show to take over there. And that was something I'd been kind of wishing for. And it was funny because I was like, looked into it. I was like, yeah, he did his Broadway show. It wasn't that long ago. And then I checked and it was like 2011. I was like, oh my God, it's been over a decade since he did that. I was like, yeah, he probably wouldn't want to do it anymore.
Did it at Nokia first too, right?
Yeah, it was Club Nokia is where I saw it. And then he moved it to Broadway. And yeah.
And if people are familiar with his work, they might have seen the lady who you said who plays Elvira pop up.
Cassandra Peterson?
Yes.
Anywho, we started with Paul Reubens and Pee-wee. I guess we're ending there. Rest in peace, you brilliant, brilliant comedian. And he'll live on forever, right? He will.
Yes.
Yeah. Anywho, we're ending on such a downer, but that's how it goes, folks.
No, it's a celebration of life.
It's a celebration of Pee-wee's life. Remember, capital P-E-E dash lowercase W-E-E space capital H Herman. There we go. That's how you spell it, and you've learned something new today. Have a wonderful day, Kyle. Talk to you later.
Bye.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of Fantasmic returning to Disneyland without its famous dragon? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569, and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney, with a Z, Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app where episodes are available 24/7. Until next time, anything you need can be found in this episode's description. From additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, contact info to reach me, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!